welcome, Jamie, to Are You Lost Without This Button? The green room?
Oh, found it.
You won't know. Nobody would know if it wasn't there. That's actually kind of... It put on the QR code like as soon as I hit the button, which is... I thought would be another step, but it is not another step. We'll see who's listening. Listening, watching on YouTube and Twitch. As we are this many, you have to watch the stream to see the hand signals. We are top 10 architecture podcasts, according to FeedSpot. Is that the name of the entity?
There's a list, and it's nice of them to have lists, and we are number 10.
I like lists. I like making lists, and I like being number 10. We were number 11, I remember, and then we moved up.
10's a good number. I mean, it is, in my favorite sport, it is, it is the creator. So,
yeah, but 11 is one louder. We go to 11.
Yeah, the 11 on the pitch is typically kind of the all gas no brakes player on the wing. So,
are you familiar with the term duster? Being a Canadian, do you like to use the word duster? Yes.
At first, I thought you were talking about the car. So
no. The Canadian term duster.
The Dodge Duster.
Not a Dodge Duster.
Dodge.
Oh, I don't remember what it was. That's probably. I mean, Plymouth and Dodge were the same thing at one point, anyway. No, that you're not familiar with your Canadian heritage? Probably depends on part of the country it comes from.
Probably, I mean, or context clues. No context clues?
Well...
Does it have anything to do with, curling?
I don't think so. It more has to do with riding the bench. Sitting on the bench collecting dust.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's my character on the pitch. I'm the duster.
Do you know what a shin heat is?
No, can't say that I do.
One of my dad's favorite terms that he's taught me for those really cold days when you're sitting in the bleachers and watching a match of any sort. You need to go inside and get a shin heat. It means to warm up your legs because they're frozen.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, one good thing about non sequitur. Well, it's a little bit better if I do that. We are moving in T-minus a week and a half. Let's just...
I don't see any boxes other than that little box of
There's a little
something
box.
we're going to talk about. Yeah, we're going to talk about later.
There's boxes over there in the darkness, but I tried to turn the camera because my everything is color audio. I noticed from the last episode, microphone. I have the lower caliber microphone. I gotta get back to my regular one soon. So once we move, the conference is over. There's just too many things going on at once. So I need some shin heat. I need an escape. Escape. Yeah. Where's the escape button? I got a mess. Look at this mess over here. I've made some coffee. I have surprise props. I got computers, checkbooks. I got it all, Jamie. Your background is so boring compared to mine.
I know. I'm still downstairs. I'm not upstairs. So.
But it's nice. It's nice that it's got a curtain. You know, it might still actually be sunny out in Texas. Did you get any bad weather?
Yeah, yesterday.
I was unawares that it was going to be. But was it worse in Dallas? Do you know if your family up there is?
No, they were fine. It probably was. We probably actually were worse down here this weekend. Interesting enough. So, or yesterday. So
crazy. This well, it's not just going to be this year. It's going to be every year.
Right. Yeah. It's Tink's new favorite thing. So yeah.
What, thunderstorms?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't suspect that is true.
No.
Untrue
facts.
facts.
That would not be a true fact.
Yeah. Poor Tinkerbell. Well, hopefully it passes and chills out for a little while. You know. Well, and then it's been last week for us was very cold. Michigan weather. Now it warmed up over the weekend. Take it. And then it's about to get chillier again. So
when you say chilly, and it may be requiring a shin heat, like how chilly are we talking?
Well, I'm more using the shin heat for I just want to get away and go to the conference. Escape the daily grind. But let me tell you, okay. I mean, okay, so it's gonna warm up. Untrue facts. Well, tomorrow's gonna be 63. Thursday's 64. But high chance of rain both days. Then warmer on Friday with more rain. Then 66 on Saturday, no rain. That'll be a nice day.
Yeah, I mean that the fact that you're starting with the word 60, like, is just like not a concept that I've heard about since maybe March.
The low on Sunday will be 42.
Yeah.
It's a little odd for us too, you know. It should be a bit more, it should be consistently in the 70s. But you know, for the same reason you're getting crazy thunderstorms is the same reason we're not getting any heat up here. So, pardon me. Speaking of buying and selling and moving, my realtor is like, "Hey, give me a call," but I'm not going to call him right now because we're live. So, apologies.
Yeah, we've done that
to the crowd.
We've done that before, realtor friend.
Yeah, I don't. This one's not as an emergency. I can call him back. He's making an appearance on the show again.
Yeah, that's a lot. So
Sorry,
maybe we need a sponsor. Like he needs to like buy us a coffee or something.
That'd be sweet. He'd probably do it. Because he's actually a neighbor too. So, you know, we're friends. Friends, neighbors, and business dealings with buying and selling houses. You know, we're like a...
It does sound like it is sort of becoming habitual for you. So, I mean, we have talked about
nomadic within the a 4-block radius.
So do you just get like the pull wagons and just put all your stuff on the pull wagon and just like?
Well, we will have higher
roll it down the street.
Some of the stuff from the garage is probably going to get put on a cart and you know, garage tools or you know, garden tools and stuff like that. If it's too yeah, I've got a cart. I could roll it. Although the only thing is you know, the sidewalks are a little lumpy, you know.
You
So
do live in Flint, so yeah.
yeah, we got old trees that have pushed the sidewalks like this. But the road is paved. The main drag there is freshly paved. So
Like
anyway, most people
modern
probably don't want to
convenience.
hear all about
Yeah.
yeah, modern.
It's just-
Those are base essentials, right?
yeah, but
People probably don't want to hear about all.
if you stick around for the next part where we go into the episode, we will talk about roads again. So
Asphalt. What's the cost of asphalt per
um,
vehicle mile?
millions of dollars. So
Is it? Well, maybe not. Just asphalt. Infrastructure, Jamie. Infrastructure. It's a buzzword. The buzzword.
Mhm.
Will you feel warmed up enough to go show it?
I think so. How do you feel?
I'm always ready. I saw the
Oh,
eye
you're-
roll though. Don't realize I didn't catch the eye roll. I saw it. Everyone
Sometimes you're
saw
not
it.
looking. Sometimes you're not looking at the camera, and I can get an eye roll in.
I was only not looking at the camera when my realtor was calling.
Okay.
I got distracted. Now I put it down. All right, everyone, we're going live. Oh, that's the end stream button. Don't hit that one.
That's like the nuclear option.
It turns red. It's DEF CON. It's a DEF CON.
Are we going to do a DEF CON update in the episode? We haven't done one in a while.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Okay.
Sounds good. Jamie, what's your DEF CON? Is that a no answer?
I'm going DEF CON. I'm going DEF CON 2. We're at 2.
You know, I already forgot the scale. Is 1 bad or 5 bad?
1's bad.
But is 5 worse or less bad?
No. 5 is like it. There's like fluffy clouds and rainbows and unicorns and like ice cream sundaes and yeah.
Okay. Okay, you're right. You are correct. I had to fact check you.
You were fact checking. I could hear the quick
Like good
quick
clickety
keys
clack
going
clack,
there.
click
Yeah,
clickety click.
you're like
DEFCON 1. You're DEFCON 2? We
I
have our
well
DEFCON updates.
I mean DefCon 2, like in my perception of where we are in the world right now. Yeah, it's DefCon 2. I mean, I'm still. I
Like
mean, I've actually moved from when we did our last update of DefCon 3 to DefCon 2.
yeah. So the button, like, there's the button, the option.
Hmm.
And so, but then there's always like a little cover over the button, right? So I think DEFCON 3 is touching the cover. DEFCON 2, the cover is clearly open.
Right.
And then fingers ready to push.
DefCon
At
1
DEFCON
means you're
1,
like you're poised. You're poised to
ready to
push.
push the button.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said on our last go around? The
Well,
DEFCONs
you're kind of easy breezy about this stuff. So you were kind of like 3, maybe 4.
to 4, 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't you familiar with what ostriches do? Just bury their heads in the sand. I don't I don't do DEFCONs. I I'd say within the midst for those that were in the green room pre-show, and I was lamenting, uh, you know, the mess in my house because I'm packing and moving to a new house, audio struggles, internet struggles, furniture struggles. I'd say I'm at a DEF CON at least 3, probably 2 for house preparation. How about that?
So in your first world
So I'm like
problems, you're at
2.5.
DEFCON 2, right?
Is it like this? 2.5,
I'm not sure.
3,
That's a
2. Yeah.
how do you
I give you
how do you count down? How do you count down? Like if you have to go, oops,
5, 4,
4,
3,
3, 2,
2, 1.
or do you go 5, oops, 5, no, 4,
See, I can't do the pinky bend either.
3. Yeah, see, it's like might be this. Yeah, it's like yeah,
But the Europeans, right? They do 5, 4, 3. No, they would the thumb is part of 3, and then they
yeah.
do 2. Well,
Well, there's also
have
yeah. I
you
mean,
ever seen an
There's
Italian 3?
also American Sign Language in there too. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I only know the one sign language of ASL. With the hand gestures, but I can't show it on camera.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
You know,
It's
the
PG
one, the one.
PG PG
Try to keep
13.
it PG.
So
Try to keep it, for
yeah,
all the childrens out there.
yep,
So Jamie, our show. We have our guest in the guest chair. Ellie is waiting to join the podcast. But
yeah. Ellie's like, I don't know what you're thinking about, Dad, but like all this talk about the weather and climate, puts me at a DEFCON 2 just to begin with.
well, her food situation is DEFCON 1 at all times.
Right. Well, there's that. Right.
Look at her. I mean, look, she's starving to death. Clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Just see those wheels turning in her mind. Don't say the
Oh,
word food too loudly, because then who
yeah.
you wake over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Shaky, shaky.
Sorry.
So
And yeah, the boss has got to feed. So
yeah.
what do you what's in your of mug of DEFCON?
Well, I mean, it's. I told you that I had gotten the Grackle, so I'm still drinking the Grackle, but the Grackle bag is pretty low, so I have to
It's at
make a
a
decision.
it's
Yeah,
a
like come
You're at
tomorrow.
a
So
crossroads. Well, I had to I finished the what was it called? Early morning blend or something, I think, from Black Diesel coffee out of Detroit. That is over. Those bags are just too small. And one thing when I'm
oh,
teaching,
are they the petite bags?
well, when they're only selling one size, can you call it petite? It's like a
Yes.
10 bag though. That's not
It's
enough.
like a teaser. Is this like a gateway drug?
It's also too expensive for the quantity, but I'm not going
Mm,
to complain much. But in light of that, and inspired by our visit to Boston next week, I had to go with an East Coast classic, the original blend, the Donkey, the Dunkin' Donuts, the Donkey.
yes.
I have to hit
I
a dunk,
think we're gonna have to hit a Dunkin'. Yeah.
a donkey. That's how the Bostonians would say it in Southie, right?
Really?
It's all donkey.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. That
So
doesn't
it's like
sound real to me, but okay.
we go to the donkey and get some shin heat.
Well, there you go. Right.
I mean, it's perfect.
It's
I
perfect.
like that. I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt. Be prepared, people. The AI conference T-shirt might come with some extras,
I mean,
some trademark infringements. But
I
no,
mean, we have been known like I in honor of us going next week, I decided to get out the release one T-shirt for us. So
Yeah, mine's in the wash. It's in preparation for
Yeah,
next week. So,
I'll do some laundry before I go.
well, I would hope so. One would hope,
Thanks.
Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you have a horse in any of the hockey race right now in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, I deferred to my father and sort of asked him, where he is in this, because the Canadians, they got destroyed. Not really destroyed, but I mean, they got run over a bit by the Caps. So, which was going to happen. I mean, Capitals are, just a scoring machine. So, Canadians are, at least they're back in the playoffs, and all that stuff. That's good. I think that Dad is rooting for Dallas. Kind of likes the Stars. Sort of
Hmm.
as a Texas default.
A
Um,
home team. That's cool.
yeah, it's kind of a home team. And
Because
they, they
sorry, the Dallas Stars
used to be
were,
the Minnesota North Stars.
yes. I was I was hoping they were a Canadian brand, but they were not that far north.
No, no, Minnesota North Stars. But I think they're playing against Edmonton, and so that's Edmonton's a good team. Edmonton knocked them out of the playoffs last year.
Hmm.
I think Edmonton's up 2-1 in the series. So Edmonton's probably going to beat them again. But I mean, who knows?
They might
But
make it keep it interesting.
hopefully it keeps it interesting. It goes deeper. But I think the thing, Dad is like me in some of that, where you kind of at some point also want to root for a Canadian team because there aren't that many of them. You kind of want them to go. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So there's Edmonton. Is there another? Is more Canadian teams in or no? Like
that's the only
anymore?
series I've been watching.
Oh, okay. I haven't.
I mean,
Yeah. I just was trying to go to
I mean,
my hockey expert co-host.
yeah. Well, I mean, the Maple Leafs were in, but who is Toronto really a team? So
There,
do,
now we're
do,
talking.
do they really
There's
even
some
count? So
there's some Canadian rivalries going. So, all right. That was I. Sorry for the sports non sequitur, because now when I show we're gonna pivot back over to the conference and talk about Boston a little bit, but
yeah, you know,
unless you have a good segue for us.
no, no, I really don't.
Oh, I caught you off guard, unawares.
Well, I mean, Boston original six, so they were one of
Yeah,
the original six. But
in
that's
hockey.
about all I got to them. So sorry, you caught me unawares even.
Unawares.
So
Well, we'll yeah. Well, I'll take the hit for that one because I I shouldn't have threw the wild card in there. But anyway, back to Boston. So should I show the show and tell, or do you want to?
I
Right?
I mean, this is the time. I mean,
Just a
we're
flash.
yeah, this is like, I mean, we've got the images on the screen. Kurt's got some
What
surprise
does that look
swag.
like? What does
Is it
that look like?
swag? Is it swag? It's not swag.
I think it could be swag.
It's kind of like swag, but it's like
It's
interactive.
it's it's not yet swag because it is what it is a little cocktail napkin. Well, in fact, a whole box of cocktail napkins with the podcast logo and a couple of hashtags, and it's blank, which for architects is a playground for a sketch.
Yeah, consider this your invite. If you see one of us, we will have them on our person at all times. It's like, it's a rule we've agreed. And we would be happy to share one of these with you, so that we could see a sketch. Whether you
And
want to do it right then or back in
well,
your hotel, or
since
or or
since or
on
me, as you
or on
are you let
or on Friday.
well Friday for sure. Yeah, let me give you a close up, Mr. DeMille.
Thank you, thank you.
Is This is our teaser poster. Is it a poster if it's on Instagram? You know what we need, Jamie? Remember when we did the walking tours with AI, the Young Architects Forum?
Do we need signs?
We need little sticks. Yeah, stick signs. Poster. What do you call those? Little
We're only getting
tour
the
guide
stick
signs.
signs if Ben Kasdan comes along and is nominated as the tour guide.
And it's got to be made out of a drumstick.
Yeah.
Although Ben's a bass player, so. But yeah, drumstick music could be cool. We can make that happen. A little bit of foam core. We'll just go raid the Boston Architectural College dumpster for some foam core. But anywho, so we have cocktail napkin. We have walking talking tour that it starts at the ICA at the waterfront, and will terminate. Well, not terminate. That's a little bit of a intense word there. That will mosey on into a party. No, it's at the ICA, which is their, what do they call it? First Friday
It's their
kind of
first Friday, and it's for Pride Month. And it's their Rococo a Go Go. Everyone loves some Rococo, so
I just like saying the word. I think most people, hopefully, yeah, Rococo.
well, and especially with my poor pronunciation abilities, like the
I
fact
think
that
you
I
did
can get
well.
that out, like with a
Sure,
straight
sure.
face,
Points.
and not stumbling over the extra O's and C's and extra stuff in there. Yeah, I'm proud of myself. But it's art, right? So like maybe it's just staying on brand for me, right?
It's because it's your familiarity with the territory of the Rococo. But
Yeah, clearer
this is a
focus.
fun,
It's art and music, and so yeah, it'll be fun.
yeah, and so and then with that, I guess let me zoom back out a little bit. Our 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 fun our another fun piece of swag, which is for sale. If you go to the link, this is the only the only pitch I'll make mid podcast commercial. There is a QR code up here in one of these corners for if you want to buy a T-shirt, and so this is the imagery for this year's T-shirt, Jamie, right? A la Jamie. This is like a 100% Jamie design. Well, yeah, I had another concept, didn't win the vote.
It got super close though.
It was sent to the bench.
It made it to the out rounds. Let's be honest. Like it wasn't just in like group play or like qualifying. It made it to the out rounds. It just didn't quite make it to the final.
You know what's fun about, yeah, well, thanks, Jamie. I appreciate the nod. Uh, I don't think uh it wasn't gonna beat this sketch or T-shirt concept. Yeah, so which was I was gonna say, so what we have here is, if you're fans of Run the Jewels, which I think both of us are, um, this is a fun, and hopefully if Mr. Render is watching, he's not gonna try and hit us with a copyright strike. It's different enough, right, Jamie?
It's different enough. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's an homage. It's a mashup.
Homage,
You
homage.
know, yeah, it's a mashup, it's a classic logo on logo, um, and
Yeah.
seemed kind of appropriate for the duo of our podcast. So this is a riff also on our version 2 T-shirt from last year, and so it's always kind of nice
Yeah.
to kind of revisit your old work and refine and tweak
Hmm.
and have fun with it.
Because there is a sort of a thread that is weaving through all the years. We've got the original T-shirt, which you're wearing. The 2023 was sort of like the original with additional sort of artwork, and then the third one, a little bit of a pivot iconography. So there's this nice little thread and of course, black and white,
Gotta be.
which
I
it
mean,
has to be. I'm I with all my Lawrence Tech T-shirts too that are all black and white as well. I'm rebuilding my black architecture closet,
it's
you know,
sometimes
wardrobe.
you have to lean into who you are. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
I know in the past on the podcast we had talked about our colors. Like Danielle was helping me pick what colors of clothing match my skin tone, and black wasn't one of them. Yeah, it was sad.
and
So
you
I had to get rid of a lot of black.
and you're like,
It's
but but but
yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back in. And she does a lot of makeup artistry, so it's another very creative field, which also they tend to wear a lot of black in on a gig. And I was starting to feel like it was a bit unfair that, Danielle gets to wear black, but not me,
there you
the
go.
architect.
There
So
you go.
yeah,
I mean,
hence fair is fair.
right. So t-shirts, be damned. We're
So
going black and white. So
I mean that's all I got, man. I mean I might even make a midday. I might have enough to have a midday wardrobe change and
ooh,
still have enough black and white t-shirts. That's
smart.
that's how good it's going to be. Oh, we should give a shout out to our friend Chris Novelli, who is in the Boston region, a friend of the podcast. He he has already purchased 2 of the t-shirt.
There you go.
So thank you, Chris.
I mean, we're pretty proud of it. Like, honestly, we it's a fast collaborative process sometimes when we're both working. So
Firing on one cylinder.
exactly, it's all that extra coffee in our life. So
That's that
but yeah,
Dunkin' Donuts.
yeah, I know. So yes, so please on Friday at 5:30, go over to the ICA, and there is a little restaurant, like not 2-minute walk from it, right on the water side, called Real House. We're going to use that as sort of our rally point, and maybe grab a beverage and hang out with some folks for a few minutes. Maybe do a sketch on a cocktail napkin, branded with our logo, and then bust out the mics, get outside, talk about some architecture, go over to the museum, talk more about some architecture, hang out some more, and then do the after party for First Friday's Rococo A Go Go. Um, there is a ticket required for that, through the museum, and we have a link on our Insta page for that. So yeah, definitely recommend it. We're gonna do it. Walk, talk, drink tour. It'll be fun.
Should also say the ticket proceeds all go to the museum, not to us.
Oh, not to us. No, we have no. Yeah, yes, thank you. We have no
We're just trying
affiliation with
to
the museum.
engage with a little piece of culture in the Boston area.
Yeah, and it looks like a
So
really fun party. So, I mean, for
it
those
does
who
seem
have their museums in their own towns, there's always sort of that first Friday, or it's a first Thursday, or a something. The Umlauf Sculpture Garden that I have talked about many times on the podcast and love, and was fortunate to have some work in for a little time. They have a great monthly After Dark, and they sort of they're an outdoor sculpture museum, so they get the evening lights on and open up the garden once a month. Usually that's on a Tuesday night, and so super fun. Everybody's got that kind of local museum that they love, and ICA was one that sort of stood out to us as a building that both of us were interested in seeing, talking about with friends. So if you're a fellow podcaster who we have reached out to, if we missed you on our last couple reach outs, don't feel offended. We want to see anybody who is doing what we do and love. And then any other architects who you can just be a listener and a friend. That's cool too. So yeah, join us. It'll be fun. Friday night, 5:30.
We got to get, once we get into the Rococo party, we got to get some of the party goers to make some sketches too.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we have to get powdered wigs.
Nah, that ship has sailed for me at least.
No, the wig, not the whole wig, like the whole.
Oh, I know, but yeah, it would be such a contrast.
Kind of a whole. Well,
Well,
that
we
could be
all need to. I mean,
a goal.
you know what I'm going to be reading on the airplane is all the a primer. I'll probably be asking ChatGPT what is Rococo and the characteristics of Rococo, because I don't want to get my period messed up. Get the time scale wrong. That would clearly a Victorian, Jamie.
All the isms. It's all the isms.
How could I go Victorian instead of Rococo?
Right.
So,
Right.
all right. Well, that sounds.
And don't go Baroque. So I mean, it's all.
You might go Baroque trying to go Rococo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you like that dad joke?
That definitely.
It's perfect.
Yep.
So you mentioned in the warm up pre-show, roads were coming back into the conversation, and so we have here a sketch of two roads intersecting. Okay, end of story. Right?
Well, actually, multiple roads and multiple layers of roads.
Yes.
All
Yeah,
intersecting.
I was being very
Yeah.
facetious.
Yeah. You can get me this. He's going to get me all fired up now. So
tell us about the roads, Jamie, and this wonderful loose, quick sketch. It's really nice sketch. I like a good aerial perspective. That bird's eye view. So
have talked
what's the bird
to
seeing,
you
Jamie?
about it before, but I don't believe.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me still? Can you hear me still? I heard a click. I heard you. Okay.
Good.
All right, say that again,
Yeah.
and then we'll make sure the we'll edit that little glitch out. So
No, I just was going to say is that I've mentioned this whole dilemma in Austin to you before, but I don't believe we've ever talked about it on the podcast. And so yeah, this is a relatively quick sketch, aerial. Surprisingly fast for me. But I've been looking at this project for a while, and kind of lamenting just the apparent seesaw battle in the community and on politically about this particular project. So the downtown Austin is like many cities in the United States, had that highway run through it, cutting off different parts of the city. So in our case, it runs north-south, cutting off the city. Majority of downtown that folks may be familiar with if they've visited is the west side of the highway, and then the east side was predominantly African American and Latino community, um, which has also been drastically changing over the last couple decades, especially in the last 10-15 years. But but those changes pale in comparison to this project. So Austin traditionally has been that city that has been really reluctant to development. And I mean development not from a development like developer, like buildings and things, but development in terms of infrastructure. And so I think it's always sort of seen itself sort of on, it's like a little big city. And always not necessarily wanting to grow too fast, and that roads and highways and transit and light rail and all those things potentially would signal that the city was getting too big, if those kinds of projects came in. However, sometimes you have to address some of those issues, and you got to start creating some solutions for things. Otherwise you get too far along, and then you're really kind of backed into a corner. And so literally what's happened in Austin is the interstate, it's a state highway system, federal highways, state highway,
It's
run.
35,
it's a federal
right?
highway. Yeah, it's I-35. Yeah. But it's, so our Texas Department of Transportation, who, kind of builds, maintains all these things with federal dollars and whatever, and state dollars, et cetera. They need to make this highway bigger. There's not a whole lot of room to make it bigger. There's also portions of it that they call it the upper lower deck split. So there's parts of it that go up and parts of it go down, which then really further exacerbates the divide between east and west. You have a lot more development happening both east and west, in some of the more traditional communities, but also in the downtown area. A lot more people living downtown. You have the University of Texas, abuts the interstate. So they're kind of landlocked, and they have land on both sides of the highway as well. So lots of different development pressures. And if you were to be on the east side and want to go to the west side and not be in a motor vehicle, you're taking your life in your hands. It's the pedestrian crossings at bridges and whatnot, or even at grade, are just it's not a good thing for anybody. So all that long-winded answer to say is this project was moving forward, whether anyone liked it or not. And there's definitely parts of it to like, and there's definitely parts of it to not like, because there's a lot of things that there's a lot more displacement that had to go on. But once this train left the station, like, this highway project was going to happen. And even though I'm not a big fan of a lot of the things that it entails in terms of displacement,
Right.
They're sinking the whole highway. So even portions that were never sunk before are now being sunk. It's getting widened access points on either side, so that's making it even wider, which causes more displacement. So like all your access roads. So there was going to be like a big chasm of concrete, in the same location. And what the debate is, oh wow, could this be the opportunity to cap that highway and actually put a deck over the top of it, and then build it in such a way that it would allow for development on top, similar to what we've seen in a lot of other major cities in the US, including Dallas to the north.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was the debate. There's sort of two terminologies that they use from a highway development point of view in this. They call it a cap and a stitch. So the cap is kind of a large north-south deck that effectively becomes an at-grade development zone for typically parks or low-rise buildings. So maybe a 1 or 2 story building. Lots of shade amenities, trees, water features, all the things that you would associate with outdoor space, and maybe even some commercial development potentially. To get kind of creative about it. Um, the stitch is where you've got these at grade crossings, which are effectively bridges over the chasm of concrete
Hmm.
that aren't just a vehicular crossing, but actually become wider. And so that there could
Hmm.
be some level of shade or amenity, and so to really facilitate moving pedestrians also east and west, across that zone. So um, the what happened was last week there was a go no go vote. The city of Austin had to decide to invest in the foundational structure to eventually cap the highway. So if they didn't choose to do it now, they'd miss the opportunity to put in the structure that would support that deck.
Right. Yeah.
Because I mean, literally, dude, there is like they are moving dirt, they are digging out concrete, they this construction is already moving. This isn't like on paper question.
Right.
This is
Right. Right.
construction that's already started. Um,
Yeah. This is
so
like to avoid a change order, a massive change order.
right,
Vote
you know,
yes,
exactly.
or a
So
future change order. Yeah.
it's it's a generational project. I mean, certainly the negative and the downside is that, like many cities as well, this isn't the only problem the city has, or the only question of investment that the city needs to make. Um, there's a growing homeless population. There's a lot of economic inequality. Job creation. Economic investment in other things, other parts of town. There's lots of other infrastructure that needs to probably be addressed as well, that already exists. So it's a dilemma that a lot of places have. But I think in this particular case, I'm just thankful that they realized that if they didn't do it, they'd never get a chance to do it. And
Definitely.
by doing it now, they at least give themselves the opportunity to realize, things are going to continue to evolve. Things are going to
Yeah.
continue to change, and this was your moment. So, yay, city council in an 8-2 vote. So,
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, that's really fascinating. I mean, that's a massive. It's like, well, it's actually kind of a good tie-in again to Boston, right? Little did you know. But I mean, I actually, when I did my master's of urban design studies, I studied the Big Dig through Boston, which was what it was. They built this massive greenway and buried the freeway that was kind of cuts through, the center of Boston, or the right through the downtown, and they buried it all and then capped it with a nice, and the greenway. I've been through. I don't know. You probably have too, right? If you walk the greenway,
mhm.
it is quite nice. It's a very it's it it actually is way more serene than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to feel like very chaotic, because there's still roads around it and all that.
Right.
But it actually was quite comfortable, and there's these moments where you're kind of like immersed in a little more nature, along the way, and there's bits of art and things like that. So
Well, and
I
I mean that particular project was so massive, but that project also was one of the first ones, right?
yeah,
And so they've
yeah,
learned, they've learned a lot since then, right? I mean,
yeah,
literally as Austin is taking this vote, this past week, Dallas is already like, excuse me, hold my beer. They're capping their second highway. right now. They're already doing it. So they capped one in downtown. It's got a park and an amenity on it. It's a little bit on the smaller side, but it's hugely successful. So now they're doing one on the south side of town near their zoo, which is going to kind of connect some cultural amenities to other neighborhoods kind of in the area. So it's I these are these are this is what design means. This is what design matters for. Um, in Austin's case, if if they build out the whole thing, which is still kind of up in the air, you could have 25 acres of new public land,
Yeah.
as opposed to, a chasm of concrete and cars. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's cool, and hopefully, I mean, you can't compare the costs, right? Because the big dig, the part of my research, right? Is like, oh, it's wildly expensive, like more than double, the original budget. But like you said, it was the first time anything like that was really attempted, and and then cost escalations and unknowns and stuff like that always will happen. But the idea of investing in the infrastructure, like you were saying, I think the key is making the smart decision up front to have that in your back pocket, or else you're going to be paying more to make that decision in the future if you don't do it now. And that's being smart about your say civic infrastructure, your council, your the people that don't necessarily know a whole lot about how these things are put together like we do, right? We're not engineers, roadway engineers, but as architects, we understand enough about the construction process that you know it's gonna if you do some things up front, even if you don't utilize them right away, it's gonna save you so much more, save you the headaches that you would have later if you make that sort of decision up front. And we do it, at much smaller scales on buildings. You know, plan for say future electrical or future infrastructural, stormwater improvements, and expansions and so on. And so it's all about like convincing the client or the person that's going to be putting the money down, to make that longer term or long view projection versus the
well,
short
and it's
term
also,
gain.
and as you're sort of talking about buildings, it's that sort of life cycle moment where, these buildings that we're designing today, if we're designing them so specific, so site specific, so program specific, we're sort of doing a disservice, to the life of that building, because it's likely going to need to be altered, changed, even if it stays the same function. Advents of new technology, or other things.
Code.
All those things yeah, code. Just life. Whatever. Um, it. I do want to give you a shout out, though. Is that so? As I was describing this sort of infrastructure dilemma in the city of Austin, and kind of bringing the listeners kind of into my world for a moment, and hearing kind of my passion about it, um, Kurt was drawing over my drawing on the screen. So this is a benefit of those folks who only listen to the podcast and like how we describe things. Thank you for listening. But those who watch us on the Twitters, no, we're not on Twitters anymore. On the YouTube and the
Twitch
Twitch.
YouTube.
Yeah, no. So we seriously we do live stream, both on Twitch and YouTube. But it's when we're doing that, we are looking at the actual sketches. Also, a place where we bring in the props and show folks those on camera. But yeah, I want to say that I really appreciated, because as you were talking, as I was talking and you were sketching, it was great because you were sort of diagramming out the things that I was saying that were in the sketch, and kind of locating them. And can you describe a little bit about what you were thinking while you were
Oh,
doing what you were doing?
well, the first thing, as I guess, thanks. Yeah, to to dissect it a little bit was I was kind of struck by the shade structures that I started to see, and then I picked out some of the more obvious ones like along say like the roadway sidewalk space for maybe a bus stop or something like that, and then I started noticing awnings. And it was as you were talking about the bigger picture of the project, it did remind me of like, you know, a good awning is a nice feature. And we've looked at a lot of your Main Street building projects that you're consulting on through the state, and the concept of an awning, a bit of cover, a bit of shade, can go a long way to sort of creating this identity, a visual identity that people are familiar with. Most people, I would imagine, are familiar with, a nice trellis or awning or a pergola. So I started sort of sketching over, and you have these sort of. I assume this is maybe a sketch of a potential rendered vision for the site, if something like that exists. So there's like a little bit of a band shell maybe, and then there's this sort of porch, and then so then I, but then so after I was just sort of identifying those elements, I did circle some trees, but then I thought it was getting a little too busy, so I took those off. But then you were describing the detail of the construction, right? So there's the cap portion, which is this sort of salmon colored boundary, and then the stitch, which is the bisecting, or the maybe not bisecting, because it's really tying the two halves together over top of the freeway below. And so in green, it's just diagrammed the sort of pedestrian right of ways adjacent to the road, with arrows describing, this sort of connection, the connectivity across that concrete channel, tunnel, chasm that you were talking about. So yeah, and I thought, I was like, well, maybe I'll take a break in case Jamie didn't want me to doodle all over top of his drawing. But
Dude, you know how I've said it before, and I totally mean it. Is that a sketch drawing is not a sacred thing. It's it's a collaborative process. So I am not offended. I love to see how other people interact with it and what they're thinking. And the fact that you picked up on sort of the awnings and the trellises, and then kind of even went to the different scale for the porch, is and realizing that sort of that super scaled porch kind of as a community amenity. Um, it's as I was drawing this sketch today, kind of thinking about this vote and thinking about all the diagrams and all the things I've read online about this project, and all the different people kind of weighing in with their versions of reality for this this proposed reality. I was really sort of struck by, I know we're going to do this in a future episode, but I was sort of struck by the relationship to this year's American Pavilion theme of the porch at the Venice Biennale, and saying, how distinctly American, in terms of architecture, both from a vernacular, but also, this sort of cultural and political moment that we find ourselves in, that, a place to gather, like you said, kind of a little bit of shade, a little bit of cover, to do those types of things, have those kinds of gatherings, is kind of special. And maybe will get me off of DEFCON 2. Maybe we can move back up the ladder there. But yeah, thanks for sketching on it. I had to make sure the listeners knew what you were doing as you were kind of quietly drawing
yeah,
away.
thanks. Yeah, so I'm gonna do more of that. You know what I did like doing? I was using my mouse, which isn't as fun as say like even a the iPad and iPad Pencil or whatever. Um, but I did a lot of that this semester in studio with my second year students. I had this sort of massive whiteboard, and we collected these sketches for each student across the weeks, so that you could see the sort of trajectory for their projects, and just talking through sketch. And sometimes I you hand the pencil off, right? And because if I'm not getting it, then the students are like, no, 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 it's like kind of like this, and then you sort of um, what would be super cool is if Apple had the ability to let two pencils like draw on the same iPad, so that you can really, but you have
Mm.
to share the one. But hey, you know, I guess you could use a finger too, I suppose. But yeah, so I like doing that. You know, it's a nice. So, unfortunately, I don't have a. It's crossed my mind, you know, with my desktop computers to get some sort of drawing pad that could interact with the whiteboard app, so I don't have to use the iPad.
That sounds very like
I
1995
know,
of
but
you,
they
but
still
yeah,
exist. People do use them,
I know they still exist.
but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, I think I want to do a little bit more of that because it's kind of, just layer it on, right? It creates interesting sort of stack of texture, I think, with different color.
You can say it. You can say it. It's, your butter paper. So it's okay. It's okay.
Butter
You can
paper?
you
You
can
mean
say you can
trace?
say it. Trace, butter paper, vellum,
Bum Bumwad?
trash paper, bumwad.
I don't know
Yeah,
if I've ever heard it called onion skin. Have you heard that one? I've never
heard
heard
that too.
butter
Yeah.
paper,
Hmm.
but we're
Yeah. Well, it's
yeah. I
yellow.
I could see
Like it almost looks like wax paper. Like if you were like
baking a cake.
baking in the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I like the yellow canary yellow butter paper.
Oh yeah. I mean, there might be a stash of a lot of that
I used to
in
do that a
in
lot in
in the old
studio,
studio.
but then I
So
realized the one cool thing about those that still exists today is that the students will stack them up on their desk. Unfortunately, it's like the only opportunity to see trace paper in the studio is the sketches that I give them. Everything else gets put in the
oh,
computer. They don't make a lot of their own.
so what you're saying is like there's a contest amongst your students to see who's they have a place that do they tape it off? Like here's the spot on our desk that we're just going to stack Kurt's
Oh,
sketches
they kind of
and then see who at the end of the semester has the
in the
largest
fall.
stack of
Uh, it was a bit of a
trace.
competition between mine and Cormac's sketches. We had a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, you know,
Uh,
yeah, you are leaning into Cormac's
yeah,
reality. So,
it was
um,
yeah, it was a good competition, friendly competition, but the students kind of ate it up. I don't know if you heard. I know we should probably wrap up, but did you see some of his posts from Chicago? He was able to
I did. Well, I told him, yeah,
he convinced a handful of our studio students from the fall, and then we sort of, the ones that you stay in touch with in the hallways and stuff, and they came out. He was like, "You're not going to do it," and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to do it," and they showed up, and he gave them a bit of a tour, a crash course, an Archie Marathon. If you're For those that are friends of the Archie Marathon uh, channel and Kevin and Andrew's work, but yeah, I gave him a little bit of a tour. So they have this funny joke amongst themselves. Like, I, you'll probably hear about it next week because when you see Cormac. But the students, if they're listening, they'll hopefully laugh at some of this. But Cormac will do the classic. Are you familiar with this building? How about this one? And then they turn around and go, Cormac, You know we don't know what building you're talking about. Why don't you just tell us? Uh, it's uh, it's it was a good running gag. I hope you weren't there in person, but in spirit, I hope it settles in. And then when we drag you in to teach, um, you'll get that vibe again. So
Yeah, no, it'll be fun. But yeah, no, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him, and Evan and everybody, and hopefully they will come out and tour around with us as well. I think that would be a lot of
yeah,
fun. So
time to go twist some arms. All right, sir. Well, thanks. Great
cheers.
Get that
See you in a
junkie.
week.